So the title of the talk is I Want to Be Happy. So, show of hands, do you want to be happy? There you go. Turns out everybody wants to be happy. And that's kind of a universal thing. Everybody wants to be happy, and we all describe happiness in different ways, but everybody wants to be happy. There's a wonderful quote that's attributed to John Lennon that when he was in school, the teacher asked everybody what they wanted to be when they grew up. He raised his hand and he said, "When I grow up, I want to be happy." And the teacher said, "I don't think you understand the question." And he said, "I don't think you understand life." Because if you can be happy and then add other stuff onto that, then that's pretty good. And there are times when things are going the way we described that we thought that they ought to be going, and we're still not happy. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands this time, but do you know any people who are angry? Do you know any people who just seem to be angry all the time? Curmudgeons, angry people, gruff. And if you think about them, they're doing what they're doing because that's what they want to be doing. So, in fact, being angry makes them happy. They might not say so, but if we're at choice and we have that possibility of happiness open to us, and we're spending our time being angry or being dissatisfied, then hopefully that's making us happy. There's a question that I sometimes ask when we get into classes is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And people who are new, especially to the New Thought teaching, will say, well, I want to be happy by being right. Because they want all of the above. And if you think about the times in your life that you've really been facing a challenge or having a difficulty, how much of that is because there's something specific that you wanted, and the gap between where you were and having that is where the unhappiness is coming from. So if we let loose our attachment to having that thing that we think is going to be required to be happy, maybe we could have the happiness without the thing. Maybe. So putting this together, I'm thinking about Robert D. McDonald and his four questions. And the first two are particularly appropriate when we're talking about happiness and wanting to be happy. And if you don't remember them, the first question is, are you happy or content or satisfied with the experience of life that you're having now? It's a yes or no question. If you say, yes, I'm satisfied with the experience of life that I'm having now, then great, I am happy. We're done. And then the second question is the really tough one because people don't usually answer that first question with a, yes, I'm perfectly content with the way things are going now. The second question is, what's the experience of life that you'd prefer to be having? What do you want to have happen? What do you want there to be going on in your life to bring you that satisfaction, that uplift, that peace of mind, that happiness, that success, whatever, what is it? You're not having it now. Second question is, when you have it, what'll it look like? How will you know that you have it? And what's the experience that you want to have instead? And open ourselves up to that possibility. What do I want to have instead? That's the pivot. We talk about the pivot a lot. That's the fifth of the four P's that we talk about in our affirmations. And pivoting is when we turn away from the darkness and toward the light. What's the experience that we want to be having instead? And it seems so simple. And in fact, it is simple, but it's not necessarily easy to do. So I was at a family event over the weekend. On Friday, I went up to Boston. I can describe Betsy as being my brother's mother-in-law, or my sister-in-law's mom, or my niece and nephew's grandmother. And she had passed away a short while back. And so there was a memorial service for her. And it was a wonderful opportunity for people to get together. And some of these are folks who I have seen in the last year or two, and some I haven't seen in 20 or 30 years. It was back in the same church where my brother and his wife got married, and I was there for that, by the same guy who did their wedding and also did the baptism for my niece and goddaughter. So it was an opportunity to connect back together with them and also these little babies who have grown up and now have lives and boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff. And I met Lilith, who is a girlfriend of one of the cousins there. And she was at the memorial service, and she got there and had an injured ankle. She had either sprained or broken her ankle a little bit earlier. There was a story that she was taking care of a dog, and the dog was in the yard, and there was concern that the dog was going to get into the street. So she, wearing 2.5-inch heels, jumped over a stone wall into a newly mulched garden. And as she's jumping over the stone wall in the heels, she's saying, "This is not going to end well." And she turned her ankle, and she knows that it's at least sprained. It might be broken. She doesn't know. She's made arrangements, and the whole thing was taped, and somebody else brought a thing for her, so it was all being taken care of. And she was calling herself stupid. And my brother, who was observing that, that was jumping over a stone wall into a garden wearing 2.5-inch heels, it could be construed that way. But then there's the question of the difference between a stupid person and a stupid action. Was that an unwise thing to do? Well, yeah. Was that necessarily the path to happiness? Well, in retrospect, no. But if that leap over the wall had been the difference between the dog being injured and the dog not being injured, then it might have paid off. If she jumped over the wall and saved the dog and her ankle had done fine, then the story would be different. And the different part of it is the judgment that we have about that. The other thing that comes to mind is my niece Samantha. Was borrowed mom's hair dryer, and she was drying her hair, and she took a step backwards and twisted her ankle. This is about, an hour or two before the memorial service. And it was just by taking a misstep. So she wasn't doing anything heroic. It was just, oops, twisted her ankle. And so there's another story there. And as you listen to the two stories of the turned ankles of the two young ladies who were participating in this event, is the judgment different for either of them? Do you think of different possibilities? So, and that's really none of our business. So they're both having the experience that they're having, and as we're going in the direction of our happiness, there are steps that we can take that are going to lead us that way, and there's steps that we're going to take that aren't going to lead us that way, and there's some steps that we don't know are going to lead us where they're going to lead us until we take them. So when you think of happiness, do you think of it as a light switch where you turn your happiness on and off? I want to be happy. Flip, and everybody's happy. Does that work? Is that how your happiness works? Is your happiness more like a slider where you can slide it up and down a little bit? Well, my happiness is about a 3, but I want to get now it's up to a 4.5, and that's getting much better. And uh-oh, something happened. As Breen was going through practitioner training, other drivers could turn his slider way down. And so what is your happiness control? What does the range look like for you? Maybe it's a knob. And I think that's important because back in the olden days, when electronic devices were controlled by mechanical devices, and you wanted to fine tune something, there were knobs where you could turn the knob all the way around, but there was a gear in there. It was a vernier. So that after you turned it once, you could turn it again and again and again, and actually would go around 10 times to go from 0 to 100. But each turn, it was to enable you to be able to fine tune something. The question is, this is not just like, this is Spinal Tap where their amplifiers went up to 11. There's really not a limit on the knob that you have on your happiness. When you get yourself into a feeling of, I am happy, everything is going exactly the way that I like it to, I'm feeling blessed, I'm feeling grateful, I'm feeling connected, it can probably still go up from there. People sometimes say, oh, how could anything get any worse? Like, well, there's a challenge to the universe. Don't do that. Because the universe will say, oh, really? Yeah. Everything could be exactly the way it is and a tornado. Or you go out to get in your car and it's not there. I mean, these things are possible. So it's an infinite universe. That knob goes up and that knob goes down. So we want to be able to do for ourselves is to set the intention to have the happiness and to understand what's the experience of life that I want to be having. What's the experience of life that I want to be having? And that's highest and best unfolding with love and ease. in whatever way it is. And it's different for everybody. So the memorial in Boston was for Betsy, who I've told a little bit of the story of Betsy. Um, she was diagnosed in February with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and the prognosis was 2 to 4 weeks. And pancreatic cancer has a tendency to be quite uncomfortable for the people who are going through that. And oh, by the way, good news for her, she had been the president of the Friends of the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute for like 30 years. So she had an inside track on everybody. And they said, basically, we're going to do whatever it is that you want to do. It turned out very quickly that she wasn't a candidate for any of the usual treatments. But the 2 to 4 week prognosis that she had wound up being 3 months. So she was around 3 months. She was able to go home. She was able to spend time with her husband and her family and be present. And she really wasn't in any significant pain up until the last 24 hours. So I want to be happy. Given the circumstance and the situation, what does happiness look like? Where do we get to turn that knob? And as I was thinking about all of this, I was realizing that we are born with a lifetime guarantee. But there's no warranty. There's no warranty. We are guaranteed to last for life, and whatever that looks like. And there's the opportunity to be happy or to be not happy along the way. Mentioned earlier the situation that Carolyn's going through and has been for the last week. There was additional news that just came in this morning that she had another stroke, and she is not doing well. And there are a whole bunch of people, family and friends, and the minister there who has power of attorney, and they have made the decision on her behalf to put her into hospice. And that touches my heart. That's really sad. And here I am set to do an I want to be happy talk. I'm like, okay, God, where's the curveball coming in there? And again, lifetime guarantee and no warranty. What does happy look like? What does highest and best unfolding with love and ease look like? What is the best that can happen in this particular circumstance and situation? And it's to be surrounded by love. To know that love is unfolding regardless of what the circumstance of the situation is. What's happening for you right now? What's happening for me right now? What's happening for the young lady who's jumping over a stone wall wearing 2.5-inch heels? We're all on our path. We all have those experiences. So I'm going to take just a second now to be silent for a moment, to send that positive prayer for love unfolding, highest and best with love and ease, to know that that's what's happening for Carolyn. And I invite you to join me for that. I want to be happy. I want everybody to be happy, the greatest degree possible. What's that look like? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I'm letting go of my judgment. I'm letting go of my attachment. I don't know what that looks like, but that's what I'm inviting in. And that's what I invite you to invite in. Love unfolding. Identify what it is that will bring you the greatest degree of happiness in this particular situation or circumstance. And see what you can do to turn the knob up to bring that in. Because you deserve it. You deserve all of the good. We all deserve all of the good. Open that and let it flow. So it is.